Our opinions aren't too tough, rough, or gruff. We are proof that you don't have to be an expert to have an opinion. So just
Shut up and sit down.
This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff. This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff.
Hi, Muff.
Alex.
And Alex. You know, we do have Alex on here pretty much as like a co-host. The name of the show is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff and Alex.
That's why I usually make a noise to let myself be known that I'm here.
Should we put like a hashtag Alex
At the end?
at the end?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see if Alex makes it through next football season.
Oh, that's true.
Ooh. I didn't know I was on like a waiver wire or something I didn't know.
You're at the end of your rookie deal. See if we extend you.
Yeah. If I get the vet minimum.
Yeah. Well, okay, I guess. This is Tuesday, May 10th. And pending the outcome of tonight's game, the Pittsburgh Pirates are 11-16. Said we'd give a little check-in here and there. Over the weekend, they did lose a series to the hapless Red Stockings from the Nasty Natty, who have the worst record in baseball.
This first series Cincinnati has won since the start of the season.
And
I don't know why we're all surprised by these kind of things still.
And there's
I
still
think Cincinnati's record is 5-23.
Yeah, and they're still like 5 or 6 games behind the Pirates. So
They're 14 games out of first place, though.
that's
13. With the win, that made them 13 games out of first place.
It's a lot of games.
A lot of games.
It's a lot of games out of first place this early in the season.
That means like if Pittsburgh's ahead of Cincinnati, there's hope for the Buccos.
There's you can say hope. There's still 8 games out.
You're not Cincinnati.
That's true.
One thing the Pirates can hold on to at least for the next month or two.
And like I gotta say, I am the Ohio homer on this podcast. But when it comes to baseball, if I had to choose between those two teams, I choose the Pirates.
Oh,
I do.
Because you're a glutton for punishment.
I am. I like that feel good story of the underdog trying to come back. I do.
Okay. Does that mean you're going to be a Rutgers fan next football season?
No. Fuck
Okay.
Rutgers.
Okay.
Or Rut fuckers.
That's an early one. In addition, we've got some NFL drama with PEDs and QBs to come.
That happened. Yeah.
Kentucky Derby was last weekend, is again the fastest 2 minutes in sports, and a huge long shot.
Huge.
80-1. Was that a spoiler alert?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we're talking about the Kentucky Derby in any other part of this episode.
Nah.
But 80-1, to put into perspective for some other upsets, Buster Douglas went over Mike Tyson was a 45-1, I believe.
Wow. In relation, I did not realize how big that was. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a big deal for an 80-1 in the Derby.
Big deal.
Big deal.
I
And
think Buster Douglas is 43-1. There's a stink bug in here. It's going to stress me out.
already adding to Alex's anxiety tonight. Also, I heard a little bit of a backstory today about what was the name of the horse?
Rich something.
Rich Strike, wasn't it?
Rich Strike.
Yeah.
Old
was
Dickie
it Strike or Stripe? I'm not really sure.
Strike. As in Dickie Strike. Was actually purchased in like a last chance auction for a horse after like as part of a race, won a race, and then was bought for 30 grand and then went on to do this. So it was like, you know, the last chance of horse racing. This horse was bought for 30 grand and then ended up doing this.
Nice.
The trainer for Rich Strike had never had a horse win anything above, we'll call it the AAA of horse racing. And the owner had only ever won like one major horse race. So everything was working against this whole situation.
So these guys are like us of horse racing.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I'll go with it.
Cool.
And then the horse started to bite people, and it got punched.
After it won?
Yeah, because it was biting the horse and the person on the horse that were trying to lead it to the victory circle, and the horse kept biting the guy on the horse's like leg and knee, so he punched the horse in the face.
Was that caught on film?
Oh yeah, it's like nobody was true. Like the horse people were not upset about it because it's like, yeah, if the horse is biting you have to do something.
So PETA's not upset? I feel like PETA's going to be upset.
PETA might be, but the horse community is not.
I mean, literally, they sit on the back of them and whip them with a whip. So I feel like hitting them with your hand is probably like kind of like a baby move compared to
the whip
possibility. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. It says a lot about Alex too. But go ahead.
I'm just calling it like I see it. I'd rather be smacked with a hand than hit with a whip.
Okay, there we go.
And if Alex's girlfriend's listening, and now you know. Carry on.
This is due time.
She already knew. Don't worry.
This is due time. Mount Massive dives into the best NFL coaches.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I think we're going to have a lot of agreement, couple stragglers, but we'll see.
Yep. Quick thoughts.
Probably won't be so quick. We got a lot of headlines.
Maybe it won't be as controversial and as testy as last week's DBU wide receiver U conversation.
Still butthurt about that.
Got a little testy.
Maybe. Alex and I are going to be full on stoolies on May 20th, as Alex and I will be at Rough and Rowdy, whatever number they're on in Wheeling, West Virginia.
I will be sending you guys stickers. I expect some tagging at the Rough and Rowdy. I want to see some action, boys.
Don't tell people that we're going to tag.
We're rebels, man.
Yeah, we would never do that.
I just want to hear Big Cat sing the national anthem.
Yeah, agreed.
At Barstool Big Cat, Alex and I would like to be special guests.
Do you think you guys will know anybody fighting?
No.
Potentially, but like the headliners are people that they usually like bring in.
My other question is, Alex, as the medical degenerate, like what is your obligation with your Hippocratic Oath? At an event like this, at a pugilistic event.
Like they signed up for this. They want it. If they came to me and were like, hey, Alex, we need you. Or like someone like went into cardiac arrest, I'd like try to do CPR. But like if you're just out there getting punched in the face by choice, it's on you, boo-boo.
Because I've always wondered, like, what if somebody goes down? Because these guys are not in the best of shape. What if somebody goes down at a tough man or an event like this?
They have a lot of staff on standby.
Right. So, like, you're not called to action?
No, if there's other people there that are better equipped to deal with it, like the first responders and stuff. I mean, if I'm like the only one in the arena and they're like, we need someone down here quick, I would go.
Right.
But
and
if
Alex is
like
going to be 5 beers in.
If there are 85 EMTs standing around ready to jump up and save the guy and they're all there, like they got it.
Okay. All right.
That's
so you're free to drink and abide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And plus, like I feel like once I'm inebriated, it would almost be irresponsible to try to help.
Got it.
Do no harm may not be do no harm anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Fair enough.
It depends how many beers have I had before I become harmful.
What's that number? That way I can hold you accountable.
After so many.
What is the number?
After a 6-pack, I'm not going to take responsibility for anyone's health and well-being.
That's fair. We do have aisle seats, so we can easily access a lot of things.
That's true. I'll get to like 2 or 3 beers and like before I say I'm not dealing with like an injury, like up to 6 beers, I'm going to do like CPR. Honestly, I shouldn't say this out loud because realistically, at any level of beers, I would do CPR on someone. But that's about when I stop. That's about when I get worried about whether or not I could save a life.
So if Muff chokes on a hot dog and you're beer 8, you got him?
Oh yeah.
I'll do the Heimlich on myself. I'll put my.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna walk him down to the rail and just like boom, like slam him off the rail.
Okay, I can do this to myself. I know how to do this.
All right, just checking in.
Are we doing? Sorry, I got excited. Live look in. Pens are up 6-2.
Hey, Let's go, Pens. Let's go, Pens. Which leads us right into Jim.
The off season.
This is the NFL offseason, 120 days to NFL football.
Bless.
That's 4 months. We got 4 months. We'll get there. We will get there.
It's moving.
It's getting there. The news of this week: DeAndre Hopkins is suspended for the first 6 games of the NFL season.
Does that count? Like, it's the official off season, correct? It's not preseason and off season or regular season. It's 6 games of the regular season.
6 games of the regular season, correct?
Okay.
Yes, 6 game, and if they have a bye in those, that doesn't count. It have to be 6 games, not 6 weeks.
Got it.
So,
but he's allowed to play in the preseason.
Yeah. So he doesn't get hurt in the regular season, even though it's going to be 6 or 7 weeks.
I figured that was what the excuse was.
Yeah. So he pops positive for a PED. I haven't seen what it was yet. Is anybody else?
No, I haven't either.
I don't think it comes out.
But he uses only holistic things, and he doesn't know how it got in there.
Sure.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that are holistic and from nature that can probably positive.
He's as shocked as everyone else.
So he did come out and said,
aren't we all supposed to be shocked? Like, if you ever got caught to a performance, I am stunned. Stunned.
No, I think at some point in your life, you just say, like, did drugs. Like, I'm not kidding you.
Gotcha moment. You want to be like, got me, hand in the cookie jar.
Here's the real truth of it. As the medical degenerate, I see it all the time. If someone comes to the ER, they're like, there's, I'm seeing things, I'm itchy, I think I'm allergic to something. I'm like, no, you tested positive for like drugs. And they're like, what? Someone must have slipped that in my drink. And I'm like, sir, nobody slipped like LSD in your drink. Or no one like sprinkled some cocaine in your Gatorade. Like, you did the drugs. Just tell us you did the drugs.
You did the drugs.
Yes.
Okay. Do you get worried about like the donuts at work, Alex? That somebody's going to sprinkle some little bit of
drugs?
No, I hope
on them. Actually, some days I'm like, man, I hope someone slips a little like, fun powder on these things. Is that powdered sugar? Is that cocaine? I don't know. It's like roulette.
Oh goodness, this is bad for Alex's career.
Oh, good grief.
So DeAndre Hopkins did come out and say he was going to get to the bottom of it with his team. Is not sure how it happened, as we all know. Funny.
And like, which team member do you pick?
His team, his personal
I understand
team.
that. So like, let's say we're a team, all right? And like, I pop positive for PEDs. I'm gonna put Alex on it because he's the medical degenerate, right?
Right.
Oh, he's saying DeAndre Hopkins has a medical degenerate on his team. You figure out how my pee got caught. Is that how that works?
I think I probably like. Are there medical staff like, or is he saying his team of people that are providing these holistic supplements? Like, I need you guys to start combing through whatever you were giving me and figure out what could have glowed as positive.
Right. Gotcha. I'm gonna need you to get your shit together so I don't get on these tests.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to talk anymore about PEDs?
No, sorry, Muff. I'm just
you guys went on a rant there. It was good. I liked it. Just interesting. The coincidence of all of this is that DeAndre Hopkins actually withdrew an appeal on this shortly after the draft. So set the scene. When an initial positive test comes out, only the team, the doctors, and the league are supposed to be aware of what's going on while it's still being appealed. Remember that the Cardinals pulled the trade for Hollywood Brown during the draft, and it had been rumored that it had been in weeks in the making and that nobody was able to talk about it or they were going to pull the deal. So if DeAndre Hopkins withdraws his appeal shortly after the draft, did he really think that he was innocent? Or was this just appealing to get to after the draft so that there was no leverage for people against the Cardinals? Oh, you don't have DeAndre Hopkins now? The Ravens now are going to be like, we're going to ask for a whole lot more because you really need a receiver.
Oh, okay.
So did the Cardinals play the game well here?
Yeah, I'd
knowing
say
that
so.
DeAndre Hopkins. So they could have had to give up a whole lot more to get Hollywood Brown if the Ravens knew this.
Yes
So are
and
you
no. I
calling
mean,
for an investigation?
No, I think this is all within
Is
it's
it?
all in bounds. The only people until the appeal is done, nobody outside of the team, the doctors in the NFL, like the NFL, like Roger Goodell level, are supposed to know what's going on. So it wasn't leaked, or else the Ravens may have been able to leverage this.
But they also, I mean, playing devil's advocate a little bit, the Ravens already knew that they were looking. Well, I mean, I guess I'm still talking. It still all comes down to the same. I was going to say that the Ravens already knew that the Cardinals had gotten rid of Christian Kirk, so they'd be looking for another receiver. So they used that as leverage. But I guess you're right, saying all of a sudden now Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins are out. Now they really need this guy.
And they need a number.
So I guess at my point, there's moot.
That's a fair point. Fair point. All right, Muff. Good call.
So
good play. Well play.
Yeah, I mean it's just interesting. And then DeAndre Hopkins has to. Why if he really thought he had an appeal, he would stick at this one out. So he withdrew the appeal after the draft because he's like, you got me, but I had to keep up the charade here because we had to make sure that the Ravens didn't figure it out.
The charade,
whatever we want to say.
Real big in this podcast.
Yeah. Any more PED talk? You guys good?
No, I'm good. Let's talk about Ryan Tannehill. I like this one.
Ryan Tannehill shares with the world that it's not his job to mentor Malik Willis in his new role as a quarterback for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm going to let you guys do your take first.
No. This is why I like this. Go ahead. I like.
So I was listening to full credit of where I got this. I was listening to another podcast. Pardon my take, and they talked about how we idolize people that are strong competitors. So you think of the MJs, the Tiger Woods of the world, these guys that come out for blood, the Kobe Bryant. Tannehill comes out and says, it's not my job to coach someone who I will be competing with for a spot to play the game. And we judge him for that. I don't think that he's saying I'm going to be mean to him. I'm going to abuse him. I'm not going to be kind to him or help him with the day-to-day workings of how to be an NFL quarterback. I think what he's saying is I am hired to be the best quarterback I can be and to improve my skill set in my playing, not make Malik Willis a good quarterback. And I think that's fair. I mean, you think about it. I don't assume that my job as a PA is to make all the other PAs around me better than me. I mean, if they say which way to the break room, I tell them, or if they ask my opinion on something, hey, I did it this way. Do you think that's the best way? I don't think you have to keep secrets from them, but for me to spend my time actively training someone who's going to be competition, I don't think he should be expected to do that at this phase in his career. Now, if he knows and everyone knows I'm retiring next year and this guy is here solely because I'm retiring, like Ben Roethlisberger this year, if we would have had a young quarterback who really had potential after he announced his retirement, yeah, I expect there to be some level of coaching and preparation. But if you're actively still playing the game and competing, why, I don't know, focus on a different player when you have to focus on yourself? Offset box.
I have no issues with your take. I love that take. Well done. I agree.
I also listened to part of my take today, and they brought up, Peyton Manning. Does anybody remember Peyton Manning mentoring any of the backup QBs in Indianapolis? No.
And we championed Favre for there was a split crowd with Favre and Rodgers.
And Aaron Rodgers was nothing but kind to Jordan Love.
I was a big fan of Favre telling Rodgers to go jump in a lake. I thought Favre needed his due and his ride to the sunset. So I don't think Tannehill owes Malik Willis anything.
Respect is earned, not given.
Well, I don't think there's disrespect there. I think there's just...
That was my inspirational quote.
Okay.
Don't shit on Alex. I like that. Well done.
I'm saying it's earned. It's not he doesn't just get to walk in and get the respect. He has to earn it.
Speaking of being shit on, something about the Browns. The
Oh, I was
NFL
like, what?
announced.
I'm missing a bullet point here for talking about people getting shit on.
Listen, this isn't
That guy went to the Rams. Damn it!
This isn't Johnny Depp's trial.
That was
The
a
NFL.
bet. That was not a person.
The NFL announced that it couldn't support allegations made by former Browns head coach Hugh Jackson on the Browns deliberately tanking. Question: How does the NFL continue to investigate the NFL?
I agree with that 100%. I also think in Cleveland, if you're a Cleveland true blue Cleveland fan, how can you not go, what do you mean we haven't been tanking?
Yes, we're actually just that bad.
Like,
That's a good point, Jim.
like, come on. They've got it. I don't buy it. I believe it's hard to say. I give some credibility to Hugh Jackson. I just do.
For losing?
Like, I think that they did try to tank to some degree.
Okay.
I mean, they're just self-reflecting. They're not investigating. They're just self-reflecting.
Yeah. No, not Hugh Jackson. He would never. He's full of it.
He would never. Sony Michel signs with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I just saw that and added that note in there. I think the Dolphins are interesting.
You got to remember this.
Don't ask Muff. Muff's not going to agree with you.
I might be a Dolphins stand this year.
I just think that Tua is garbage. The Dolphins have a head coach that is trying to build the same blueprint that was built in San Francisco, which is let's bring in a stable of running backs and let's build it on the ground game and a solid defense and tried and true in the NFL. If you can do those things well, you're going to be competitive.
So I was thinking about it too, like Tyreek Hill, where's he fit in this? Tua is not a great quarterback, but can he dump the ball off to Tyreek Hill and let him put the moves on? Might be a good little matchup there. I don't know. I just thought they're building something. Also, side note, quick little bullet, Dicker the kicker got picked up by the LA Rams.
Good job,
know
Alex.
about Dicker the kicker.
Is that Rich Strike's cousin?
Yeah, Dicker the kicker.
Good job, Alex.
Glad.
Anytime. There's my contribution to the off season.
All right. There's still a few players out there that are notable. We're going to see, where do we envision these free agents going? These are projected spots initially that I'll toss out by Pro Football Focus. First, Jadeveon Clowney is projected to go to the Browns.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
It should be something the Browns are looking for, right? Another defensive line.
Yeah.
OBJ projected to go to the Packers. They need it. They need it.
Yes, that's a great pick for him, but I don't know if he might stay with the Rams.
I say he goes back to Cleveland.
Potentially.
I think he goes back to Cleveland and the whole saga just becomes the best story told in the NFL.
It would be the best story told if Deshaun Watson is suspended for half the season. He has to play with Baker Mayfield for the first 8 games.
I don't think OBJ goes back I think he'll still be rehabbing.
That's fair. Yeah. That makes sense. JC Tretter, offensive lineman, projected to go to the Dolphins, which would, again, help the whole situation that McDonald's trying to build down there.
Good place to land.
Akeem Hicks, Jim, projected to go to the Chargers.
I hope so.
I hope so. Julio Jones, projected to go to the 49ers.
Okay.
Maybe a reason that Debo wants to stay or makes him happier to stay.
Yeah.
Some help.
Or a reason like he would leave, like that's insurance for after he leaves.
Either or, whichever way. Glass half full, half empty is how you take that one.
Yeah.
Melvin Ingram to the Dolphins. Melvin Ingram, this is the defensive lineman who was formerly with the Steelers and the Chiefs last year.
Okay.
And Jarvis Landry, projected to go to the Saints.
I hope not.
Why do you hope not? Do you want him to stay in Cleveland or?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Who's all getting thrown to at Cleveland? There's
not a lot there.
Him.
Jarvis Landry.
There's not a lot there. So,
and lastly, in the offseason, the information was put out of.
well, see, can we stop for a second before you get into this?
We can.
Thursday, the big unveiling of the schedule, which was, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, when did that become an actual event? Like, it was a big deal when the schedule came out, but this has become like advertised for commercials.
Well, yeah, because they can make money off of it.
It's just like why the draft's. It's why the draft's 3 or 4 days now.
That makes me uncomfortable. Like, I'm not okay with that. I think that's one move. Like, I'm all for like, hey, well done. You're taking a money grab. This one's like, you're just releasing the schedule, guys. Like, you had to do it somehow.
Well, and they release it in these weird like phases or something almost. It's not like just I wish one day they hit a button and everyone gets to look at their schedule. Then I can be on board with like something exciting for a day, but they're like weirdly drag it out. I'm like, I don't care that much. Just let me know when a Steelers schedule is up.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That was my only point. Go ahead, Muff.
All right. So the unveiling of the schedule happens, and then there's information about which teams are traveling the most. The farthest in miles is how this was done. So the team that's traveling the most, not surprisingly, is a team on the West Coast, the Seattle Seahawks, will be traveling 29,466 miles and traveling through 34 time zones in their travels.
Are they doing the European game?
I was just about to say. How else would they travel through 34 time zones?
Well, this is, remember, if you go from West to East Coast, you're traveling through 6 time zones just in for one game.
I mean, I got you. 34. They got to pick up.
Well, no, I guess if you go, are you counting down and back?
I believe this is how this is calculated.
So from like West Coast to East Coast is an East Coast. You have to come back.
Why,
so is that
Alex, research who's doing the European game?
There's 3 of them. There's 3 European games. There's one in London, one in Germany, and the other one I forget where.
Who's doing the European game? Muff, continue.
I'm working on it.
The fewest miles is the Steelers.
Now, if I'm not mistaken on this, the Steelers got screwed last year on their schedule.
Two years ago during COVID, remember their bye week was taken away from them, and it was put in like the worst point of time in the season.
But then last year it wasn't nice either. Like I feel like they did a lot of traveling last year too.
The Steelers are typically, and I would say the AFC North as a whole is typically a division that has the least amount of traveling because of how closely they are in proximity to each other. So there's not usually a lot of traveling.
But I feel like they did like a Kansas City run. They went to San Diego. They did a lot last year.
Yeah, I think they had some back-to-back like high travel games. Like,
so I'm not as much as I hate the Steelers, I don't like. I feel like this is them making amends for the last 2 years.
Potentially, they're traveling 6,442 miles. And the Steelers are actually never traveling outside of the Eastern Time Zone this whole season.
Good for them
for a regular season game. Alex, you got the games?
I do. I have the games. So there's 5 this year, international game series. So we have the Vikings and the Saints on October 2nd in London at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
This is all bullshit then. Traveling the most miles, and they're not even on the list.
Well, no, I literally gave one out. I said there are 5 games and said one.
But the Vikings are on the travel list of traveling the most miles.
That's probably why, because they probably make that one and they're like, okay, we gotta make sure.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
So we also have the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers in London on October 9th. We have Denver Broncos and Jacksonville Jaguars in London on October 30th, and they're at Wembley. We have Seattle versus Tampa Bay in Germany, in Munich, at Allianz Arena, home of FC Bayern Munich, on November 13th. And the San Francisco 49ers versus the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico. I did not know there was a Mexico game. Mexico City, Mexico. Yeah. Estadio Azteca.
The Aztec Stadium. Got it.
I would like to go to the Wembley game. Like, I've not been a big fan of the European games, but I would like to go to that Wembley game. Anything else here with the travel news?
Some other footnotes. Other teams that we typically chat about. The Chargers have the 7th most miles, traveling through 30 different time zone. The Bengals have the 6th fewest, again, that AFC North. Bengals almost 11,000 miles, traveling through 4 time zones, so very similar to the Steelers as far as time zone travel. The Browns have just under 10,000 miles, 2 time zone against the 4th fewest. And the Packers, almost 18,000 miles, traveling through 22 different time zones, and they're in the middle of the pack.
All right.
Freaking stink bug's about to make a big mistake.
And that wraps up the off season.
This is Mount Massive.
Yodelay-hee-hoo.
So this is the segment where we rank things: coaches, boxers, NASCAR drivers. We haven't done NASCAR drivers yet. But today's topic, I don't think we'll ever do NASCAR drivers for Alex and Muff. But for today's topic, we're going to rank the best NFL head football coaches of all time. Right? We said all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I assumed we were going with all time because you did not try to define the modern era.
Yeah, I didn't want to define the modern era this time. So with that said, I want to hear your guys' criteria. I feel like we all agreed on the top 2. Then we kind of deviate. And I would like to hear the reasoning because I feel like we got some interesting stories here. So, Alex, I would like for you to start. Start at 5.
Start at 5.
Mhm.
Got it. 5. Vince Lombardi.
Okay.
Other than the obvious that he was obviously a very good coach, won the first 2 Super Bowls. I think he left a mark in the NFL. Obviously, we have the Lombardi Trophy. So he deserved, if I'm thinking of Mount Massive of coaches, I feel remiss to not include him. 4, I have Chuck Noll, Steelers coach. 4 Super Bowl rings. I think kind of speaks for itself. Paul Brown. Paul Brown had 19 straight title game appearances. That's a good record. Don Shula and Bill Belichick are my last 2. I think those ones are a little more obvious. I think that anyone who ranks all-time coaches has those 2. Probably 1 and 2 at the most, 2 and 3. So I guess I looked at mine as sometimes when we're doing these, I look at it and I'm like, even if you don't have the best stats in the world, like if I'm thinking like of the impact you made on the game,
Yes.
I factor that into mine a little bit. So
those
are my 5.
I agree. I will give mine because I know Muff. I feel like Muff has probably a more journalistic top 5 than mine. Number 5 for me is Bill Parcells. And that is partly because of my heart. Growing up as a kid, to me, he defined what a head coach was. 11-8 in the playoffs, 5 divisional titles, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl wins. He defined that era of football for me as a head coach. So he's my number 5. Number 4 is Paul Brown. Basically the innovator of his era and basically a lot of what we know in football. Vince Lombardi, they named the damn trophy after him. And then much like Alex, Don Shula 2, and the GOAT Bill Belichick at 1. I mean, he is the GOAT.
Does hurt to say it though.
So, Muff, I am very interested to hear yours. Also, side note on mine, I was never going to put a Steeler coach in my top 5. Sorry.
Yeah, we knew.
There's a reason why Paul Brown is not in mine. I was looking at three criterion and how they blended into my list where it's kind of, some of it was feel, especially 3 through 5. I was looking at Super Bowl wins, so rings. I looked at wins, most wins. So if you have the most wins, you're obviously doing something right. So it takes some level of luck to win a Super Bowl. There has to be some things that fall in your favor. It's not often, actually only once, where somebody went perfect. And then lastly, I thought about what was the trailblazing aspect and or the impact on the NFL or a franchise itself. It could be a little bit of both. So that was kind of what I was looking at, and I blended it into my list. So at 5, I've got Chuck Noll. Again, 4 rings, 9 division titles. He set the precedent in consistency, set the precedent for consistency and success for, maybe a little bit biased, the best franchise in professional football. Those 4 rings are really what put him over the top in my mind, aside from being a Steelers coach. At 4, I've got George Hollis, 318 wins, giving him the second most wins, 10 division titles, 6 NFL championships, and 40 seasons as a head coach. So longevity there, the fact that you stay a head coach for that long, I understand this is earlier in the NFL's existence, but that says a lot to, I think, the type of coach you were if you can stay in that role for that long. 3 for me is Bill Walsh, 6 division titles, 3 Super Bowl rings, and really a trailblazer is what made him this. This is what led into the NFL as we know it, as far as throwing, the West Coast offense, all of that. So Bill Walsh, aside from his 3 rings, is also a trailblazer in the NFL to today. Don Shula is at 2, just like everyone else. Most all-time wins, 19 playoff wins, 16 divisional titles, 6 Super Bowl appearances, 2 rings, and has the only perfect NFL season to his record. And Bill Belichick, number 1, the GOAT, 31 playoff wins, 17 divisional titles, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 rings. Takes 2 hands to get them rings for Bill Belichick. The man, the myth, will be the legend later on.
So I know you guys are Yinzers, and this is typically where we wrap up the Mount Massive, but I found it interesting. On all 3 of our lists, there's not a Cowboy coach.
Bill Parcells.
Yeah, sure.
What, you talking about Jimmy Johnson?
There's not Jimmy Johnson's on there. I mean,
he wasn't in. He was fleeting with his
but that's
glory.
America's team. That's one of the dynasties.
That's, you say it's America's team. It's not my America's team.
You know what I mean? Like it's
yes, I know what you mean.
They are up there.
Cowboys
yes, you guys have. Say it again, Alex.
Who would you have picked though if you had to pick a Cowboys coach to add on your list?
I don't. That's what I'm asking. That's why I'm throwing. Is there a coach from
Landry, Cowboys coach?
I mean, Hank Hill would say yes.
From the 70s.
Yeah.
So
we have Barry Switzer, Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett. I mean, this is like a list of names.
I was wondering why Jason Garrett didn't jump off the page for Jim.
I mean, so like, are we? Should there be an honorable mention for Landry?
I mean, no, he didn't make the list.
I understand that. And I agree. But if we're going to talk NFL dynasties,
okay, so here's my argument for why he shouldn't. His winning percentage was 605.
Okay.
He's above 500. But I don't think it's high enough to make a special category for him. I mean, he does have 2 Super Bowls.
So, like, we can all say, like, I understand my Parcells pick was from the heart. And so I feel like my list is discredited right there. We all agreed on 1 and 2. I feel like Muff's list is pretty solid with Belichick, Shula, Walsh,
Allison Knoll. And I understand Vince Lombardi is going to be like, why is Vince Lombardi not there? Vince Lombardi, unfortunately, and this is not with his life was cut short by colon cancer.
Right.
This is, and obviously totally different, but thinking of, to me, do we think of Bo Jackson as the best football or baseball player of all time? No, his career was cut short. Vince Lombardi does not have that happen. He might be at the top of the list for everybody, no questions asked.
Right.
And that's just, it's the unfortunate circumstance that was put into place. And the fact that he makes lists says so much about him, and the fact that the trophy is named after him.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Because I feel like there's some Cowboy hate that we draw from our list. Like Jimmy Johnson on some of these lists falls at number 6. You know what I mean?
I do hate the Cowboys. Come at me.
I agree. Landry's number 9 on some of these lists.
I'd take Jimmy Johnson over Landry.
You know, on top 25. I'll tell you another thing I found hilarious was on some of these top 20 and top 25 lists, Mike Tomlin makes the list.
Oh, yeah, Mike Tomlin and Bill Cowher, which Bill Cowher deserves to.
I mean, Bill Cowher, but Mike Tomlin makes some of the top 25 and 20 lists.
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season.
It's that consistency, and he needs, I think, another Super Bowl title to truly solidify himself on a list like that. But he's not on a list like that for me yet.
All right. So Cowboy haters, if you're listening to the show, or Cowboy lovers, if you're listening to the show, come at us. I think you have a viable argument. I think the other two are welcome to refute you. I think they are open to refuting.
Cowboys stink. Get out of here. We don't need no stinking Cowboys in here.
Boo.
And that's the Injures here on Mount Massive. This is Quick Thoughts.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this week's edition of Quick Thoughts. We have a lot of topics coming at you, so I will try to keep the rowdies on the straight and narrow. We will start in the world of boxing. For the first time since his...
That's
good job, Muff. That was your first ever sound effect, I think. I'm proud of you. All right. For the first time since his loss to Floyd Mayweather in 2013 as a 23-year-old, Canelo Alvarez lost. Dimitri Bivol wins in unanimous decision as all 3 judges scored it 115 to 113. Alvarez wants to exercise the automatic rematch. However, he was fighting in a weight class that was higher than usual. Thoughts on the boxing, Muff?
Good job, Dimitri Bivol. I'm glad you won the match. Give them a rematch because it's going to happen. There's going to be more money. End of story. I'm not a huge boxing person. I mean, Canelo Alvarez is somebody that's been around and been well and been good. So it's had to happen sooner or later. So I think this is starting to be the downside of his career now.
Jim?
I love the fact you started with Muff on a sport that he doesn't really know. Because this is one time where you might actually catch Muff slipping. He is probably pound for pound one of the best boxers going.
Ever, Jim?
I'm not going to say ever.
Because he didn't make your list last week.
He did not make your list.
No, right now, going. And not pound for pound, not one of the best
first.
Ever. I think he made a mistake. He got greedy, trying to prove that he is the best pound for pound ever. And he went up a weight class and he got caught. I don't know that this is the fight for him. Interesting note, Dimitri is Russian. He chose not to play the Russian national anthem given the Ukraine crisis. I think he's trying to distance himself, which is a smart move on him. Alvarez had another fight scheduled for another title somewhere else and has decided to put that off and is enacting his automatic rematch clause, which, I mean, at 23, he's got it in him. He's going to go after it. I don't think it's the smartest move for him. And I think that may be the downfall of his career by trying to continue to fight this warpath at a weight class he has no business in.
I
like it.
Side question real quick for Jim.
Yeah.
Where's Dimitri Bivol in like the ranks of that weight class?
I mean, he's a champion. He is
the champion.
Whatever that.
Okay. He has a belt. Okay.
He has a belt.
Fair.
You know
That's
how boxing is. Everybody can have a belt, and he is a champion. Yes.
Okay. So he's a top 5 in that weight class. That's all I was looking for. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
All right. Getting out of the boxing world, we got a lot of topics here to cover, boys. the NBA, the National Basketball Association, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons did have surgery. He had a microdiscectomy. I could go into the exacts of that, but I will not bore our audience.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to know what that is. Sorry.
So basically, you go in, and when a disc bulges out between your vertebrae, it can impinge your spinal cord.
I'm good now.
Which causes either problems or pinches nerves, and you put like these little incisions and these little. You have like a microscope. And
I said I was good.
Oh, sorry. Moving on. What if the rest of now the audience is gonna wonder?
Okay, go ahead.
You scrape away a little piece of the disc that's pushing, so you just make a little incision versus going in and taking the whole disc out. All right. Ben Simmons surgery. There were rumors going on that he had performance anxiety and was possibly babying the injury, but now have those been put to bed since the surgery was involved? And another talking point, with him expected to fully recover prior to the start of next season's training camp, what are your expectations for the Nets next year? Jim, thoughts on the whole situation?
You got to stop throwing performance anxiety at everybody. It cannot be used as a crutch just because you don't like the way somebody's playing. It kind of diminishes the performance anxiety actual diagnosis.
Well, obviously, that was the thing. So when he was in Philly, there was like a video of him not shooting a layup because he was going to get fouled, and he was so bad at foul shots that like he was nervous to shoot foul. Like, so now they're saying like
we gotta. I don't want that diagnosis to be put on somebody who actually has an injury. Like, let's let him be. Let's let him live. Obviously, it was a serious injury. My expectations for the Nets next year is like probably not going to be any better than they were this year if they don't get their shit together as a whole. You got Kyrie, who he's Kyrie, and KD is KD. So let's get that show together and as one unit, and maybe they'll be okay. But who knows? It's day to day.
Word. Muff?
Is this type of performance anxiety that requires Roman swipes or hymns? Just curious.
I was wondering that would be brought up.
So no, not that type of.
Clarify.
You can.
No, Jim.
It's worth a Google, Jim. Go ahead and Google it, Jim. It's worth a Google.
In bed. It's like a fortune cookie when you read in bed.
Something was put to bed. But my only question on this whole Ben Simmons, like aside from all those other things, like if that's true, I get it. It is what it is. Why did we wait until the season was over to have this procedure? Like, he's been on the bench all year. Have we not figured this out? Why do we have to wait till after the season, and we're not sure about the beginning of training camp? So that to me is the biggest thing. Like, he's been paid all season to do nothing, and then after the season's over, we're going to get the surgery. So that to me is, I don't like it.
Quasi rebuttal.
Okay.
Medical degenerate question. Can that injury be fixed with rehab, cortisone, and other measures before surgery?
A lot of times people will try like physical therapy, things like that, take down some of the inflammation around the area.
Muff, going under the knife, though, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong. Going under the knife for that surgery is not something everybody wants to sign up for if there are means to avoid it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want surgery if they don't absolutely have to. But I guess if Muff's looking at it as how long has he had to make this decision, and your timing looks poor. But if he was actively trying all these other methods and nothing was working, just bad timing. Weird timing, not bad.
Yeah, that's why I said quasi rebuttal. I don't know that. I think you're right, Muff, but I also think that like I'm not signing up for that shit unless I absolutely gun to my head have to.
Yes. All right. Joel Embiid. Let's talk about the other elephant in the room. Philly was hit with a $50,000 fine for violating injury reporting rules. They failed to disclose the status of Joel Embiid in an accurate and timely manner. Should you be allowed to decide last second if a player on your team is going to play or not play without announcing it to the world, or do you think that you do have to give fair warning? Muff.
The masked elephant in the room, Joel Embiid. Let's be real honest about why this has to be given farther in advance. And I feel like all the degenerates that listen to this can understand this is about gambling. That's the only reason we have to know in advance. But nobody else cares. The other teams, yeah, does it affect their game plan? Yes. But the reason that the NBA has to release things by like noon, that the NFL has to release their injury reports, is so that people can get the money on the games they want to bet on. So, yes, I'm going to say yes, there has to be fair warning in line with these policies that are already in place.
If you didn't gamble, would you think?
I wouldn't care, so I'd probably go, whatever.
Gotcha. Jim?
I agree with Muff on this point.
Interesting. It doesn't happen often.
I know.
Anything else to add? Or you just
No,
agree?
I just think it's a great point.
Okay. Dylan Brooks received a 1-game suspension after making unnecessary and excessive contact with Golden State's Gary Payton II on his drive to the basket, resulting in a fractured elbow on Payton. Was it a dirty play? Jim?
No, I don't think it was dirty. I think we need more of this in basketball.
Yikes.
Fractured elbows?
We need more physicality.
Gotcha. Muff, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm not going to say it was dirty. I am going to say that there seems to be some inconsistent use of the flagrant foul, the technical foul, and these suspensions across the league, to the point now that Skip Bayless is texting or is tweeting like Jim texts when he's angry at least once a night that there's an NBA game on right now. And by all the that don't know what this means, that all caps are on for every word that's in the tweet. So there's a lot of
wait.
Skip Bayless is doing this on the regs right now.
So Skip is me. I am not Skip.
I don't know if Skip does this regularly. I've just noticed it. So Skip may
I
be
started it
channeling
first.
Skip may be channeling you right now.
Thank
but
you.
I'm not saying you started it first. You're not the first person to probably not
Yeah,
understand
but Skip,
how to
I'm
express
not
yourself
Skip,
in words.
is what I'm saying.
I don't know. For me, no, because I haven't noticed
Thank
it
you.
until now for Skip.
Good.
I don't think Skip knows that you text individually us in all caps when you're angry.
I am not letting myself become Skip Bayless.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Chris Paul incident with his family being harassed. We've heard about it at this point. Mother's Day. Apparently his wife got pushed into his girlfriend or mom or something. There was an incident. Monty Williams comes out and suggests that maybe there should be a special area for the players' family members to sit during games. Is this a reasonable solution? And what are your thoughts on the situation as a whole, Jim?
Absolutely, there should be a place for them. Like, I don't understand why the NBA didn't jump on this sooner. They should have their own place to sit. Have we watched the NBA? I mean, we've been talking about the chicken incident. Like, we've made a whole podcast on this. The fans in the NBA have not been the most sane all year.
Hashtag save the chickens.
I mean, come on. And like, these people were harassing Chris Paul's family and asking for hugs, and like getting grabby and pushy. Yeah, they should have their own seating arrangement. Why not? I'm not saying we should bring the whole like extended family and give them their own seating, but like if they bring in, go ahead.
Like so many tickets.
Yeah. Why not? I think that there's NFL games where like, why are we having Steelers fans in Cleveland or Steelers family in Cleveland with the dog pound like right next door? That's stupid. Let's avoid conflict as much as we can, please.
Muff?
So this, I agree that you can probably figure something out. To me, it's where, so this is by sport. In the NFL, where do you consider the best seats in the house? If you're going to, where do I want to be in an NFL game? You probably want to be in 50-yard line in a box, in a suite, right? In the NBA.
Wait. To clarify, point of clarification. Are you saying best seats for the family or best seats just in like general view?
Yeah, if you wanted to just be there and you wanted the best not bang for your buck, but if you wanted the best opportunity to be with a group of people, you're probably going to be in a suite in the NFL. Like, that's a valuable place to be in a football stadium. I'm not going to say just the NFL, in a football stadium. Jim, sure. you were in a suite for the Ohio State spring game. I think that was an enjoyable experience for you.
Yes.
In the NBA, these high profile seats are the courtside seats. That's why they have them on the court. Up until who knows when, it's not like you had seats on the court side. They developed these within the NBA game so people could sit there because they wanted to, and they're willing to pay the money, like Spike Lee and everybody, to be on the court with them. So it's a desirable seat. I understand this was like behind the bench and everything that was going on. And by the way, this episode is chicken related now. So I feel like the family wants to be in the best seat in the house, and that is around the bench and near courtside. And this is unfortunately where all the BS happens. The BS like that doesn't happen in a football game. You're not harassing the people in the box unless Patrick Mahomes' wife is dumping champagne on you. So I just think I don't know what the box and the suites look like in the NBA if it's a desirable place to be.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
I don't know that I agree with you on this one. I don't think that all the family wants to be courtside. I think they don't, like Steph Curry's mom and wife are probably never courtside. They're up in the stands, but let's get like a section of the stands for family. Like, I don't necessarily know that they got to be in a box, but let's block off 3 rows.
Just have a couple security guards there, like,
and have security guard the rows.
I like it. We're moving on though to the semifinals. The West, we have the Suns versus Dallas going on. That series is tied 2-2. We have Memphis versus Golden State, with Golden State leading the series 2-1. In the East, we have Miami versus Philly, tied 2-2, and Boston versus Milwaukee, with the Bucks leading the series 2-1. Who do you like best? Who's in the finals? Who wins it all? Give me your thoughts. Muff.
In the West, I want Luka. I would love for Luka to go with John Morant, but unfortunately, John Morant, I think, has an injury situation right now that is a kind of undefined and unknown. So I'm going to say Dallas versus Golden State in the West. In the East, I'm going to go with Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers, and I can't go against Giannis Antetokounmpo. So Bucks.
Jim?
I would like Dallas and Golden State in the West and Miami and Boston in the East. That's what I'd like to see come out of this.
Okay. All right. So there's your predictions from Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff for now. Let's move on to football. That was enough basketball talk for the second. NFL or the Roger Nightmare Fuel. Owner Mark Davis announced that President Dan Ventrell was no longer with the team and declined to provide any reason as to why. Hours later, in a statement to Mick Akers of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Ventrell claimed that he was fired as retaliation for informing the NFL of allegations that Davis had created a hostile work environment with other potential misconduct, allegations which Davis allegedly had dismissed. Ventrell said that he had retained counsel, and it looks like there could be an upcoming legal battle. Thoughts on this situation, Jim?
Raiders are the Raiders. Like, if Al could be any more prouder of his family, this would be it. A Davis in the news, bucking the system, and firing the rat that's narking him to the NFL. Like, come on, Raiders. Mark, what are you doing? Firing this guy. This guy came to you and said, hey, you're screwing up. We've been in enough shit from last year. Let's stop. He says, nah. And then the guy says, well, if you're not going to do it, I got to do it. He says, well, if you're ratting on me, I'm firing you. What are you thinking? This is bad news.
Bad news bears. Muff, what about your thoughts on it?
The NFL is in a situation where things like this can continue to happen and go relatively unchecked, because what's the balance to this action? Oh, Mark Davis, let's get with the other owners. Like, you know, Dan Snyder. Oh, Mark, you're being real bad. Like, and Roger Goodell's like, come on, guys, we got to do something here. And they're like, shut up, Roger. Just keep making us money and we'll let you go. Like, I don't, because it's not like Mark Davis is beholden to a board of like a board. he's beholden to the other owners in the NFL, which you got, Mr. Tug Job himself down in Miami. Kraft, you've got Dan Snyder, who couldn't even hold on to his team, so his wife had to take over. Now you got Mark Davis, who's like, hostile work environment. I'll show you hostile. F you, buddy, right out the door. Like, this is going to continue until there's some other balance to this situation, and I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better.
Dan Snyder sees this and he's just like, yes, please take the heat off me. Yes.
Yeah, someone else, please. I agree.
I feel like that's all they're doing right now. Like, oh, who's going to one up me now? Who's going to take the spotlight?
They pass the hat? Like, it's your turn.
And there's Roger, just like, come on, guys.
I want to know what Roger's blood pressure is. I call this the NFL or Roger's nightmare fuel. I want to know, like, every new event that happens, what his heart rate is.
Yeah, I trusted you guys to be able to manage yourselves.
You can't do just one damn thing. One damn thing.
Just shut the hell up for a little bit. All right, moving on to a different topic in the NFL, or as Jim called it, Roger's nightmare fuel. The former Seattle Seahawks and Baltimore Ravens safety Earl Thomas is facing a felony arrest warrant after police say he violated his estranged wife's protective order more than once.
Multiple times.
That is an important point. Multiple times. Muff, thoughts?
Process this to the fullest extent of the law. I mean, Earl Thomas was saying he was going to try to make a comeback, and I feel like this is derailed that effort very quickly.
Jim?
I just want to know, like, I am not making light of the situation, but who in their right mind violates a protection order? Ever heard? Multiple times. Multiple times.
I feel like this is more people than we think.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right, that's the new survey.
Yeah, because I think at the point that you have to have a protective order against you, you have some kind of mental illness, and you're not going to change,
or you just don't care.
So this is a regular thing. I'm the one who's in the dark here.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say you're in the dark. I'm just saying that I think this happens a whole lot more than we anticipate.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I stand corrected.
All right. And our last NFL topic, who else to end with but the Dallas stinking Cowboys and Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones had a wild week. He accidentally leaked the first 34 picks on Dallas's draft board, which gave a glimpse into the team scouting process. And then on Wednesday, he got into a minor car accident and was briefly hospitalized. Do you have any words of advice for Jerry on how to handle this week, Jim?
Mojo moments. Like, if you thought for 1 second that, like, Jerry couldn't be any crazier, this.
Do you think, like, stuff was going on with the other owners and he felt like he was, like, not in the limelight? He's like, quick, got to do something.
I got to keep up, boys.
Naturally happens.
I got to keep up. I'm going to wreck this car. I'm going to let them know what I don't care who they think I'm picking. I'm going to let them know. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to wreck a car. Let's go. Mojo.
Did Randy just show up?
Wild.
I think Jerry was the smokescreen here. Mark Davis was the issue, and Jerry's the smokescreen. Opening a rare glimpse into this team scouting process. I think that's just, who did Jerry like? That's the top 34 on the board.
Right.
And then he got into a fender bender, and I mean, I guess a little bit more than that because he was briefly hospitalized. But Jerry Bear, keep doing your thing.
The first 34 picks on Jerry's board. Do you stand for the national anthem? You're on the list. You're on. Good. I like you.
Oh, no. All right. Getting out of that topic real quick.
So it was Randy.
Guest appearance. Into the hockey realm. We'll give a quick playoff update and hear some thoughts from both you guys. So the Pens, after their triple overtime win in game one, came back and have won the last two, winning tonight just now 7-2. Live look in. Let's go Pens.
Who's it?
Jim.
Did they pull the goalie? I need to know if they pulled the goalie, Alex. Did the Rangers?
No, they did not pull the goalie. No, it was 7 real games, 7 real goals.
Nice.
Oh, Jim, he lost his Vegas bet. Sorry, pal. T's and P's. Little recap. In the West, we have Colorado and Nashville playing, with Colorado leading the series 3-0. Minnesota and St. Louis tied at 2. Calgary and Dallas up 2-1, and Edmonton and LA 2-2. In the East, we have Florida versus the Caps. Washington is leading that series 2-1. Surprisingly, Florida team. They are playing right now in Game 4, which is tied 2-2 at the end of the third and going to an overtime period. Toronto playing Tampa Bay is a tied series. Carolina and Boston is a tied series, and Pittsburgh now up on the New York Rangers 3-1. Who you guys got in the NHL? Any thoughts, Jim?
Coming out of the West, I would like to see probably Calgary.
Okay.
Canadian. Coming out of the East, I don't want Tampa Bay in there. I can't get behind Florida winning anything either. Like any Florida team winning hockey doesn't make sense to me.
Fair.
I saw Carolina once get off their team bus at a hotel. They were cool. They signed a bunch of autographs, so I like them. I'm gonna have to go Carolina in the East for me.
So Calgary and Carolina are Jim's 2 picks. Very statistically broken down for us.
Yeah, hockey.
Muff, your thoughts on the NHL?
I got the Avalanche coming out of the West, the best team in the NHL all year, and I think that's only going to continue, barring some rash of injuries or other issues that befall that team in the next few weeks. Out of the East, I will say I don't know how the brackets break down as to who would play who next. Obviously, my heart is with Pittsburgh. I feel like Washington's got something going this year. I believe
that the winner of the Pittsburgh New York series plays the winner of the Florida Washington series.
Yeah, and that's what I was hoping was not going to happen, because I'd like to see Pittsburgh and Washington in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think whoever comes out of that matchup is going to go to the Stanley Cup.
Fair. That wraps up our hockey talk. Moving to baseball. This time, the MLB has reportedly expanded its use of a dead-end ball that was partially used last year, and they have begun using humidors at all 30 ballparks. The result is a new dead ball era, with runs being down, batting averages being down, and most noticeably, home runs being down. Unless, according to the New York Mets hitting coach, Eric Chavez, the game is on prime time. What thoughts do you have about the dead end of ball? Jim?
So the guy says, Chavez has said, that 2 days before they played in Philly, several hitters came up to him and were like, watch how the baseball travels when we play in prime time. And he thought they were full of it. And then he saw how the ball was traveling and it's going farther. It's crazy. And he's just, he's lining it up to the eye test. And my thought is, we need Hugh Mulvey on the show. I need this explained to me. Why? Obviously, I'm assuming if it's prime time, the balls are getting hit around the park, ratings go up. It's a more attractive ball game. But if that's the case, why not just let the balls fly all year round? Wouldn't that bring people to the ballpark? I'm confused by this logic. Maybe it's because I don't like baseball. Muff, you may have to clarify. But why would I want to slow down so that I eat more hot dogs at the game? I don't understand. Muff, help me.
I'm going to try. And Hugh Mulvey is the only person I know that can do this justice fully. So I may be missing some key points. Baseball has been working to reduce game times, correct? That's been everything they've been talking about. Games need to be shorter. We need to do X, Y, and Z. To that end, Chicks Dig the Long Ball is great for ratings, but not great for time of play. Because you remember, the more home runs leads to more strikeouts, which means more pitches thrown. So if you're only going for that one pitch and you want to hit a home run, you're not playing small ball. So you're not trying to move runners. You're not hitting for contact. You're only looking to drive the ball out of the ballpark, which leads to more pitches thrown, more time, et cetera, so forth, which is why we have a pitch clock right now. The designated hitter theoretically could speed up the game a little bit because the ball's getting in play quicker in the National League. So all of these things are led to a quicker game on the whole. So if you're looking at average game time, we're probably going to see that go down with less runs and all of that. But when you're in prime time, if this is true, we want the long ball because that's what people want to see on TV. The average person is not watching baseball day to day. But if there's a Sunday night game, I may turn it on, and I don't want to see bunting somebody to third base to sacrifice flying home. I want to see a home run.
Okay.
And that's where I disagree with Muff, just because I played baseball. I like the game and the art of it. So I honestly love seeing like the squeeze bunt and those plays. But I do see your points. Good talk about dead balls. Let's talk a little bit about umpires.
I like sticky balls better than dead balls, but
performance anxiety with the sticky balls. So let's talk about the umpires, which is kind of the golden rule that you're not supposed to do is notice the umpires in games. But umpire Dan Bellino apologized for his role. He apologized that in the incident during an Arizona Diamondbacks Miami Marlins game where he ejected Madison Bumgarner. His quote was, "I would like to address my actions on May 4th involving Madison Bumgarner. When I began my MLB career almost 15 years ago, I received some good advice. I was told to umpire every game as if my children were sitting in the front row. I fell short of those expectations this week. While I can't go back and change what happened, I take full accountability. I will learn from this incident, and I sincerely apologize." Muff, anything to say about that incident?
Push a clicker in the pocket, shut up, get on to the next game. You, by saying something, you're now part of the story. So just move along.
Jim?
I disagree with Muff. And I typically agree on this topic, but this situation, the umpire came out like an asshole, grabbed Bumgarner's hands, didn't even look down at the hands, basically was like massaging the guy's hands while staring him right in the eyes like a jerk, and basically instigated a fight. Had no business doing that. And this is him taking accountability for it. Like, you made yourself part of the show. You made things pop off. There was no reason for it. And thank you for coming out and saying, yeah, I did that. I think this was big of him. And we bust on whoever that umpire is that makes himself part of the show all the time. And he does so unapologetically. This guy actually took responsibility.
You talking about Joe West or Angel Hernandez?
Either one of those
I think
idiots.
he's talking about Angel Hernandez.
Joe West is retired.
Yeah, I think it's Angel Hernandez.
Okay. Well, both of them do. I was just curious if you had one in mind.
Whatever one that we always bust on.
Angel Hernandez.
Yeah.
This guy actually was like, I feel bad.
So moving to a different situation, somewhat similar, but not as extreme. Umpire Chad Fairchild. I was like, I knew that wasn't a name. Fairchild. He apologized to the Mets pitcher Chris Bassett after missing a strike 3 call. Do you like that he acknowledged the missed call, or should he just stayed firm and been like, yeah, my call was right? Like during the game, he like tapped his chest like, oh, my bad. Jim?
At the risk of being a hypocrite, I think I go back to Muff's keep the clicker in the pocket. Like, you made a call, stick with it.
Yeah, in the middle of the game, I hear you. Muff?
I think this happens more often than we know about, but not to the pitcher. I think there could be an aside to the catcher every once in a while.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's about time we bring Hugh on.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Give that another week or two.
Okay.
He's trying to graduate and get another degree.
Bring Hugh on. We'll congratulate him on graduating, and we'll ask him a bunch of questions.
He might meet Coach O.
We might.
Ooh. NASCAR topic for our NASCAR fan, Jim.
I'm gonna take this over. I'm gonna change roles here. I'm gonna give it to you guys.
Jim -1.
I'm gonna give it to you guys. 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 I'm gonna give it to you No, you take points. I just want to hear you two debate this.
Okay.
So Hendrick Motorsports driver William Byron was 1.5 laps away from winning the race at Darlington. Okay. Joey Logano comes up and bangs him in the back, basically slowing him down. He has to save it, and Joey Logano goes on to win the race. Joey Logano acts like, I did it. I won the race. That's racing. They go to interview Joey Logano, and they say, Joey, what happened there? Joey says, if you're going to put me in the wall and try to wreck me, that's what happens. Basically insinuating that's retaliation. Nobody saw it. There was no incident there. When they asked William Byron about it, William Byron says, look, I was racing him hard. We were going around a corner. I spooked him. If he feels like I was racing him too hard, I don't know what to tell him, but what he did to me, he's an idiot. So my question to you guys is that banging him justified to win the race? Is that rubbing racing okay?
I don't think banging him in the back end in the middle of a race is acceptable.
Rowdy did it.
I kind of knew her.
Rowdy did it to Cole Trickle. That's all I'm going to say. I know how you stand in NASCAR, so I figured that'd be your response.
I think that there's a difference between riding someone hard, and racing hard and actually making contact and causing an accident. So I think if you raced him hard and you got shaken by that, that's on you. To not be able to hold your mental stamina while someone's racing you hard. But if he actually made contact and hit him in the back end and caused a wreck, then that's dirty to me.
Muff?
Lord Byron needs to keep the quill in his hand and wrap it up and get there for 2 more laps to victory lane.
I award 1 point to Alex. Go ahead. Go back to your role, Alex.
I got a point. We will go to NCAA football. Let's start with the NIL deal stuff. Recently, as in today, there's been some new rules come out about boosters not being able to give NIL deals or talk to recruits about the potential NIL deals associated if they come to certain schools. There's also things about not being allowed to increase NIL deals or start NIL deals to keep someone at a school if they were going to transfer. What are you guys' thoughts on these new rules to kind of make it not a pay for play thing and not using it to entice people to come to certain schools? Muff?
It's always been not pay for play, right? The NCAA has not got rid of that rule.
I think they're saying to avoid this becoming that.
I'm saying it already is that. It already is that. We already know it already that. The NCAA threw up their hands, and now Mark Everett's going to be out of the seat, and they're like, now we got to set the precedent for this new person coming in and what we want them to do. It's going to be to crack down on NIL because this is becoming free agency and who has the most money to wave in front of somebody's face. So this is an impotent response by the NCAA after they threw their hands up for the past 2 or 3 years as this was going down. So I'm gonna be interested to see what happens. I feel like there's only going to be more controversy and issues arise until the NCAA is either fully back in control or the major teams break away and do their own thing.
Jim?
If you give a kid, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, a candy bar every time they do something right, and then you realize, shit, they're getting cavities, and then you don't give them the candy bar anymore, and then they do something right, and they look at you and go, where's my candy bar? And you don't give it to them. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to be pissed. Then they're going to rebel. The NCAA just made the whole system want to rebel on itself. I understand you want to put down law and order. Too little, too late, man. You can't go back. You cannot go back. And the problem is, I was reading the article to prepare for the show, is years ago, we used the amateurism argument for them to maintain control over the players. And then we let the NIL deal out of the bag. And when nobody put any leadership or rules to it, and if they let it continue, amateurism, you can't make that argument anymore to have your finger on the pulse. Like, you can't control them anymore using the amateurism argument, because by God, they're getting paid and you're letting it happen. So now they're trying to rein it back in so they can keep that amateurism argument. So NCAA, you screwed yourself. You have only yourselves to blame. You have to look at Mark, the guy that you're letting live for one more year in the role. You did this to yourself, and you're going to try to take it all away and think that the players are going to be okay. And coaches, you're upset about it because the guy from Pitt is going to leave Pitt for a big ass contract, and Oklahoma's paying their players $55,000 a year. I'm sorry. That's how this works now. They got smart and they're rebelling. Too bad. I could go all day.
I have the perfect replacement for Mark Emmert.
Who?
The Law and Order NCAA president, Donald Trump.
Alex, move on.
All right. The last
deduct
topic.
a point for that, by the way.
Oh, for getting everybody to laugh, I get deducted points for making the people laugh.
All right, all right, you know what? We don't go into politics, but let's play your hypothetical out for a second.
What?
Donald Trump.
Who thinks that I actually was serious with this?
But because now I'm interested. Now, what would Donald Trump be like as the?
You have a very,
president of the
very
NCAA?
short leash.
What would he do? He'd run the NCAA in the ground and they'd go bankrupt, and then he'd blame it on everyone else but himself. Done.
Isn't that what Mark did?
You guys are getting buzzed before this gets bad. Let's move on to the final topic of our quick thoughts. The coaches want to set a window for the transfer portal, one in the late fall and another during the spring, in which players can put their names into the transfer portal. With the two proposed windows, players would be able to pursue other opportunities after the regular season and after spring practice. It helps from player perspective, coaches' perspectives, and just recruiting in general. What are your thoughts on this situation, Jim?
I thought I went first the last time. You sure?
Oh, sorry. Then
Doesn't
Muff.
matter to me. Programs, conferences, and coaches can't have all of the cake and the cherries and the chocolate on top. If they want the players to have more control, then the players are going to have more control. If they want NIL and they think that's a good thing, then they have to lay in the bed that was made for them. The teams brought into this, the conference brought into this, the NCAA allowed the net to be lifted for all of this to go on. And all of these programs were like, awesome, let's do this. And now that it's the Wild West, which has been accurately portrayed by this podcast for years at this point, they're like, oh, wait, but we need to put some teeth to this. We need to put some regulation and process to this. And I don't think this is the time for the coaches to want to be able to make a good case for this, unless they want to get back in bed with the NCAA to make something like this happen. So you can't have it all the ways you want all at the same time.
Jim?
Yeah, I agree with Muff. I have a real big issue with Saban and Kirby Smart, because those two are the ones that are really hounding on this one. They are big on the NIL, but the transfer portal is also a thing for them. I understand logistically trying to manage your program, this helps you, but if you back this regulation, you're kind of trying to, like Muff said, get back in bed with the NCAA, and your two programs, that's not what you want to do. That's not in the best look for your conference, your programs. All these teams need to get away from the NCAA, start it all over, start your own rules and regulations, and then you can make claims like this. Then you can start making new rules and starting over. But like Muff said, don't get back in bed with the NCAA. I agree with Muff.
Okay. Well, that wraps up the topics for quick thoughts. I think we had a lot of good conversation. I really didn't award any points. I was kind of into the conversation. So good
so
job.
You're the winner because I gave you a point?
Yeah, exactly.
Alex's only win in quick thoughts.
Woo! And on NASCAR to boot. So I am this week's winner of quick thoughts. And you guys both did a very nice job conversing. There was very little aggression, but good rebuttals. A pluses all around.
A pluses, but no points. Which leads us to the end of this week's episode. Before we get there, 112 days to college football starts. Jim, excited?
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Both countdowns, I'm super pumped. I just want football back.
So before we get to the end of the show, this was not a quick thoughts topic. It was no topic, but I want the world to find video from the UFC fight over the weekend. No, Jim, not of old man getting his face kicked in, but I want people to find the video of the security guard around the cage tackling or putting the person who's trying to rush the cage to potentially do a chicken-related protest. That's this narrative I'm going to spin, taking this person out. So this episode is chicken-related, and I want people to see that. And chicken-related episodes are out of control, and we need to control the chicken. Get Mark Emmert in to control the chickens.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing he can control is chicken. Bunch of cocks.
Oh, here we go.
Going down to South Carolina for the Gamecocks. 112 days of college football. Follow us at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter. SportsStuffW/Jim Aberstand Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Like us on all of the places you like us: Apple, Spotify. Follow us, rate, review, do all the things, because we're only going to get bigger. We're only going to get better. We're only going to say more ridiculous things. And the more people listen, the more ridiculous things we will say. And to make that happen, you have to tell a friend, make a friend, be a friend.